In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. And you might say, wow. And I said, wow. And I got a head so big, I could barely fit it through a door. I thought I was a real estate god. And when that happens, God of the universe will give you a nice little smackdown. Well, that was 2008. I lost conservatively $50 million in 2008. I call it a seminar, because it's only a failure if you don't get back up. It's an expensive freaking seminar, but there it is. So that's my story. I started, when I lost everything, I started my podcast, and it's the largest really real estate podcast in the world at this point for commercial real estate. And I teach people how to buy apartments and senior housing and pretty much every commercial asset class.
What is going on, STR Nation? This is your host and brother from another mother, Emanuele Pani. I had the pleasure of having Rod Khleif on the show. He has been on the show before. You've seen him around. He's one of the OGs in the mindset space and the real estate space. And we just had a wide-ranging conversation, as always, as you guys know by now. This is episode 292. I am curious, and I always love to think about you guys, and I always love to ask questions that I find interesting and I care about. And oftentimes that leads me to beautiful, unique conversations. Today was one of those cases. And I really admire people that Rod is 66 years old. Guys, he's still grinding. He's still pushing. And so there was also something that I found curious. And so I asked him about that. Like, what's going on? Like, why are you still doing this? And one of the favorite quote that he says, we're going to quote him, is that a life of service is addictive. And really allowing yourself to serve others. May that be through your property management business, may that be through your investment, may that be through your syndications if you're raising money, understanding that you are in service and really allowing yourself to, as Will Guidara says, of appreciate the honor and the privilege that there is in a life of service, in whatever degree that looks like, and how satisfying that becomes. On the personal side, as you guys know, my health journey has been really top of mind for me over the last year. And June of last year, I was 119 kilos. What is that in pounds? A lot. And this morning, I stepped on the scale and I was 92 kilos, 92.2 kilos. And guys, for the last 3.5 months, 4 months, I've been swinging between 95 and 93.5 kilos. Never able to break, up until now, sub 93. And it happened. And if I had stopped, it wouldn't have happened. I didn't do anything different. I just continued to do the little things that I know work day after day, even though it's taking longer, even though it's not clicking. And all I got to do over the last 4 months is finding the evidence, the little tiny slithers of evidence in the way I felt, the way my body moves, the way my clothes fit, of it working, even though the result wasn't there. And understanding that I wasn't doing the things to get the result. I was doing the things because that's part of the process. And that as long as we are committed to the process, now switch my weight comment for whatever it is that you're working on right now, it will happen. The only way it's not going to happen is if you stop. Rod, 66 years old, lost $50 million worth of real estate in 2008. $50 million. And he's still here. He has rebuilt a great business. He's now into AI, as everybody, guys, I unfortunately cannot get away from AI as a conversation. Trust me, I am trying to, because I don't want to just talk about AI all the time. And also, not because I don't embrace it, right? Just because I find it, and most people are just regurgitating conversations from other people, the level of know-how and actual knowledge, it's questionable in my mind. And so again, I don't really think there's true experts, or at least I haven't met so many. But anyways, that's a tangent. So great show, interesting. I do hope that if you have listened to a Rod Khleif interview before, that this is a little bit different, because as always, I put my spin and touch on it. Well, I am super excited to welcome Rod Khleif back on the show, one of the OGs in the personal development space, real estate space. So I'm super excited to have you back on. Last time he was with us, if you want to listen to the previous show, was episode 90. Was February 28th, 2022. Time flies. This is episode 292. How have you been?
Crazy. OG. Oh, good God. That's what that stands for. Not him again. I've been good, brother. Lots of change, lots of things happening, on every level, personal, business, the only constant in life is change. And so, yeah, lots of things happening. I'd love to drill down on with you. Yeah.
Amazing. So for
Yeah.
people that don't know you, or haven't seen you, or haven't heard about what you do, what is that elevator pitch of who
Sure.
Raleigh is about?
Yeah, let me take 10 minutes to give you a little background. So I'm a Dutch immigrant, think wooden shoes and windmills. Immigrated to this country when I was 6 years old with my brother Albert, my mother's Vansha. Came across on a boat. I remember my mom crying when she saw the Statue of Liberty. True story. We ended up in Denver, Colorado. We didn't have much. And I remember we actually shopped at an expired food store, believe it or not. We drank powdered milk with our cereal in the morning because it was cheaper than real milk. And trust me, sounds better than it is. And I wore hand-me-down clothes from the Goodwill and the Salvation Army all the way through junior high school until I finally lied about my age when I was 14, because you could get a job at Burger King when you were 15, flipping burgers. And I'm sure you've got listeners had it harder than I did, but I knew I wanted more. And, luckily my mom had an incredible work ethic. So she babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat. And with her babysitting money, she was quite an entrepreneur. And one of her entrepreneurial ventures was real estate. So she bought the house across the street from us when I was about 14 for 30 grand with her babysitting money. And then when I was 17, she told me she'd made $20,000 in her sleep that had gone up in value to 50. And I'm like, what? You made 20 grand? You didn't do anything? Screw college. I'm getting into real estate. So I got into real estate. Well, I was still living at home, made about 8 grand my first year, 10 grand my second year, but I made over 100,000 my third year. And so what happened between year 2 and year 3 that caused me to 10X my income? Well, what happens, I met a guy, I was working for a guy in real estate, a broker, that taught me about the importance of mindset and psychology. How really 80 to 90% of your success in anything is just that, your mindset and psychology. And so fast forward to today, I've owned over 2,000 houses that I've rented long-term. I own thousands of apartments now. I'm buying senior housing now. In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. And you might say, wow. And I said, wow. And I got a head so big, I could barely fit it through a door. I thought I was a real estate god. And when that happens, God of the universe will give you a nice little smackdown. Well, that was 2008. I lost conservatively $50 million in 2008. I call it a seminar, because it's only a failure if you don't get back up. It's an expensive freaking seminar, but that there it is. So that's my story. I started, when I lost everything, I started my podcast, and it's the largest really real estate podcast in the world at this point for commercial real estate. And I teach people how to buy apartments and senior housing and pretty much every commercial asset class. And I'll brag for a minute. My students, we are counting the number of multifamily units they have, and we're at about 275,000, but we know it's over 300,000 because we can't even keep track anymore underneath my tutelage, something I'm very proud of. So those numbers eclipse literally everybody else combined, including big names you'd recognize, that teach this stuff. So very, very proud of that. But that's my story, brother. And, lots of things happening. Like I say, I'm shifting gears into senior housing, and as well as, I mean, as well as multifamily. Of course, I own thousands of multifamily units, but I really love the senior housing asset class, and love to talk about AI with you as well. So yeah, let's have some fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. So right off the bat, right? And I love the story. I love the up and downs. I love the immigrant
Yeah.
kind of connection. One of my favorite things about Dutch people is this thing that you guys do is the bread with the butter and the chocolate sprinkles on there.
Oh yeah, Huckleslaw it's called.
It's
Yeah.
guys, if you have never
Yeah.
tried it, it's one of the most addicting thing you can try. And
Yeah.
it's just literally chocolate sprinkles on bread and butter.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
it's so good.
So you've been
Oh,
there, yeah. Yeah,
yes,
the
yes, yes.
the
So good.
Gouda cheese on the bread and butter, believe it or not, this is not so it's not so tasty, but I've actually had horse meat on freaking I remember having that on trains, very thin sliced, just the thought of it's disgusting, but yeah, it's very salty, but I remember that as well. So anyway,
Yeah.
sorry to
No.
digress the
No.
the conversation.
No, no, it's great. And so my first question for you, right? You've seen hundreds and thousands of students now, and I am a
Mhm.
huge believer, just like you, that mindset is really everything because it really impacts your ability to follow a system and a strategy. And so
Sure.
you can give them all the gold. And then if their mindset is just not where it needs to be, it doesn't matter, right? I can give you
Right.
all the cheat codes and nothing happens. And so
Right.
with all of your years of experience, why does that happen? Like, what do you
Sure.
see?
No, no, a great
Right.
question. Let me take it from there. Listen, everybody has a story about why they're not successful, okay? Because the story is a softener. It's so you don't get disgusted with yourself. Oh, and very often they're also limiting beliefs, okay? Like I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm not smart enough. One of mine was I'm not analytical enough. And there's a reason the acronym for belief systems is BS because 99% of them are BS, but we believe they're real. So that's a problem. But and story. But I will tell you, I've had over, I think, close to 3,000 students now. I have 2,000 right now. And I see it time and time again. It has nothing to do with how much money they come to the party with. It doesn't have anything to do with education. Doesn't matter where they live. I've had NFL, NBA players. I've had famous actors. I've had everything. The people that succeed are the ones that change the story and then they just take massive freaking action. That's the secret to success, period. Now, if you come to one of my boot camps, the first thing we do is goal setting on steroids. Because how do you get anything if you don't know what it is? So it starts with, knowing what it is you want, and more importantly, why you want it. So we do goal setting is one of the first things we do, and I spend a lot of time on mindset. I do a virtual boot camp now, probably every 6 weeks. I just had one last weekend, and I don't sell anything there. It's kind of a no brainer if you're interested in real estate. No excuses, but I spend time on mindset. I spend time on goals. I have everyone create an identity statement as well because that pulls you into this identity you aspire to embody. And it starts with the words I am, because anything you put the words I am in front of is an identity statement. There's no greater force in the human psyche than the need to remain consistent with how we identify ourselves. So those are a couple of the mindset strategies that I utilize and teach my students and teach, of course, at my boot camps as well. Yeah.
Hmm. So I was having a call with one of my people this morning,
Mhm.
and he's somebody that bought a business ambitiously, so moved across the country, and now the business he has a hand on it for the last 7 months. It's not going the way he thought. He learned some fraud that was maybe in the way when like the seller sold, and he's in it now, Rod. Right? It's just
Mhm.
everything is terrible. Like I can't believe I did this for my family, and well, you've lost.
Oh,
Right. And so talk to me about that conversation. Because again, I
sure.
think mindset, most people are like, I'm great at mindset when things are good. But that's
Sure.
also when you don't need it.
Well, it's the same strategies when you're recovering from a setback, a seminar, I call them. So just so you know, I've built 29, actually now 30, because I've started a new company. I've built 30 companies so far in my lifetime. Several worth tens of millions of dollars. I have two right now that are. However, most were spectacular flaming seminars, right? We fail our way to success. And so, you know, um, the key here is, and tell your friend this, the key is to not let your company or your vehicle be your identity. Okay, it's just
Mm,
your vehicle. That way, if the vehicle fails, you're not a failure. People kill themselves when they identify with their business. Okay, there was that crypto guy who shot himself in his Lambo a while back. People jump out of buildings. They did in the '08 crash. They did in the Great Depression. Because they allowed their vehicle to be their identity. And I'll tell you, there's incredible opportunity right now to buy businesses, to start AI related businesses. It's incredible. I'm starting an AI related business. And so incredible opportunity. But like I said, and there's 10,000 people a day turning 65 in this country. There's about 8 to 10,000 turning 80 in this country. And it's going to continue for like 3 decades. It's the baby boomers. They've impacted every aspect of society. They're the reason suburbia happened, Pampers, the diapers, everything. And now they're getting old. And I'm on the tip edge of that. I'm 66. And so, and it doesn't stop. And so, a lot of those people turning 60, 10,000 people turning 65 have businesses they need to sell. So it's an incredible opportunity to buy businesses, incredible opportunity to get in real estate as well. Because, real estate, especially in my asset class, the big one is multifamily is getting crushed right now because of the interest rates, and Powell didn't lower them again. And don't get me started, but there's a reason. And so there's a lot of upset in the market, a lot of distressed deals. My SEC attorney that does our syndications when we buy a large apartment complex said he got 6 apartment complex foreclosures clients in one day. So, there's a lot of distress, a lot of opportunity. I'll tell you, there's an asset, we call them assets. There's an apartment complex next to a 200 unit apartment complex that I own in San Antonio. It's about 300 units. This one next to the one I own. And it sold for $43 million in 2022. The bank got it back. They were asking 28, okay, 43 to 28. I wasn't interested unless it went to 24. Somebody bought it, but that's what's happening right now, okay? And so, if there was ever a time to get, start thinking about your vehicle, it is right freaking now. If it's real estate, get your ass to my boot camp. If it's, buying businesses, learn how to do that because opportunity is upon us.
I love that. So you have shifted, and I love how passionate you are about the success of your students.
I love it. I've got a wall in my office, my other building here, with hundreds and hundreds of thank you cards. It's the greatest blessing in life. I used to be motivated by the Lambo and the Rolls and the Bentley and watches and all that stupid shit I thought was important, but that motivates me now. I literally get love every single day. I get cards, gifts, emails, DMs. Of course, I get hate every day too. No one should have owned 800 houses. You're the reason I can't buy a house. No, the reason you can't buy a house is you need to get out of your mom's damn basement and go do something.
100%. And so you've done all kinds of things, and now the heavy focus for you has been senior housing.
Well, both multifamily and senior housing. The shoe hasn't dropped yet for senior housing. The pricing is not where I need it to be because it's all about buying based on cash flow. It's not about that. Even though that huge disparity in price from 43 million to 28 million, I still wasn't going to do it because of where the rates are right now. The cash flow, didn't give me comfort. So, but I love senior housing, man. Again, 8,000 people a day turning 80. There's a huge shortage of beds. They call it the silver tsunami, the silver tidal wave. It's crazy. And there's going to be a shortage. There already is a shortage. There's going to be, I'm sorry, not yet. There's going to be a huge shortage of beds. I don't think it's even possible for them to keep up with the demand. I think it's very possible there could be waiting lists for assisted living facilities. That's how sobering the statistics are and the numbers are. And so, I've got right now, I already got a facility up in Pittsburgh, but I've got 6 of them under contract. We're doing a presentation actually tonight on them to raise money for these 6 assisted living facilities. And I'm just super excited. These are a screaming deal. And that's why I know we'll raise the money in days because we're paying $40,000 a unit. Okay. Meaning a room. You can put 2 people in a unit, but there's $40,000 a unit and you can't build them for less than $250,000 a unit. And so, in fact, I had somebody contact me literally a week ago. They're building a senior housing in Orlando, and I looked at the numbers, and their cost is $350,000 a unit, and I'm paying $40,000. So, and these are nice buildings too. So, anyway, I'm blabbering a little bit, but yeah, I love that asset class because of the demographics. It's got legs, and it'll have legs for a long time.
Yeah. So that kind of lends us perfectly into something else that is clearly has legs now and it's going to be here a long time, which is AI. And so tell me, how are you thinking about AI And then
Yeah.
what is your percentage of time spent between the brick and mortar business of the apartments and the syndications and the raising and the coaching and then the AI stuff? Like, how is
Sure.
Rod
Sure. No,
splitting?
that's a great question, buddy. That's a great question. And I'll tell you, and that's a very important question. Well, I'll tell you, in my world, okay, let me back up for a minute. There's a reason 90% of the world's millionaires either made their money in real estate or invest their money in real estate. Because I mean, there's no more solid asset class, and the tax benefits are insane. So, I am going to always continue to buy real estate. I love real estate. It's what I've lived, eat, and breathed my whole life. But this AI thing is extraordinary. We've implemented OpenClaw into my coaching business, and basically and into my investor relations and my acquisitions business. So we've got two standalone machines we're utilizing for that. And my head of marketing has basically said that this machine is going to do 95% of his work when he's done by the end of next week, finishing loading it. 95%. It's already doing a bunch of it. It's crazy. And so, in talking to him and talking to the person that configured the machines for us, we've started a company. We literally incorporated yesterday, and we're going to start offering AI implementation to companies. Okay, certain size companies, but we're going to offer AI implementation, starting with marketing, starting with some sales components, and then ultimately some operations as well. And so, very excited about it. My daughter is also starting an AI implementation company that I will assist her with and probably partner with her as well, because any company that doesn't embrace this is going to get left behind. I mean, and I don't mean that the AI does everything, but like in this case, this marketing fellow that works for me, brilliant hard worker, and he can now, if it does 95% of his work, he's just basically directing traffic, double checking things, and he can think and strategize and innovate and do all sorts of things that he didn't have time to do. And so, that's one of the benefits of AI right now. And I'll tell you, the one of the sobering sides of AI is a lot of entry level jobs are going to go away. Accounting, legal, definitely IT, finance, and so yeah, I mean, even architecture, engineering. I mean, a lot of these entry level jobs AI can handle and do better. Medical, and so I feel sorry for these kids that are in school right now that their career is going to be a challenge for them. And there are a lot of jobs, a lot of layoffs. I mean, look at Meta; they've already laid off tens of thousands. So has Amazon. So has Oh God, there's several. I mean, that are on the forefront of this that are laying off people because they don't need the programmers and whatnot anymore. AI is doing it, and so a lot of IT jobs are going to go by the wayside. And if you're listening and that's you, for God's sakes, get your head out of the sand. Recognize that it's coming. Change is inevitable, and it's okay. You might have to reinvent yourself. I've had to reinvent myself many times. So if that's you, decide what you'd enjoy doing. If it's buying businesses, go learn that. If it's real estate, again, get your ass to my boot camp. You just go to rodsbootcamp.com. It's $47, so there's no excuse. But whatever it is, go learn it and get ready and start doing it on the side. Start that side hustle. Don't let the shoe drop and then you're in fear. And they're talking about universal income, but I mean, can you imagine how unexciting that's going to be, right? When does the government ever get anything right? So I mean, it's going to be ugly for some people for a while. I don't know if you concur, but I'm a little concerned about it.
Yeah, that was kind of going to be my next question, right? Because I see you as a leader, not only in your family, your community, but also obviously with the amount of business and things that you have, you also employ a lot of people. And so my question to you was going to be from that perspective and the perspective of leadership and teams. What is Rod doing, and how are you, being that you have this mindset background as well? How are you understanding the fact that people are in a moment where transitioning out of one doing and are not really sure what the next doing is going to be. And so many of us do find identity in our doing. And so
Right.
as a leader that gets everything done through people and now through machines and AI, how are you supporting the people in your life, maybe your daughter as well? Like, how are you
Uh-huh.
supporting people in understanding, hey, this is coming. I'm 66. This is not really that much of a concern for me because I've also done all this thing. But you're 22.
Mhm.
Sh-
Well,
Shit, this could be an
I'm
issue.
telling them to embrace it, Emmanuel. They need to embrace it, bottom line, and and embody it and learn it. And I mean, the opportunities are extraordinary, but they need to embrace it. And anybody that doesn't is going to get left behind. I mean, it's extraordinary what it does, and it's just going to get better. And so you've just got to, it's just like the whole internet thing when it came around and people were making fun of Jeff Bezos for wanting to sell shoes online. Yeah, look where he's at now. Okay. So, this is bigger than that. Okay. AI is bigger than that. And, lots of billionaires and tons of millionaires are going to be made that embrace it, utilize it, and maybe not do a business in it, but utilize it for their businesses. A lot of opportunity to buy businesses and implement AI and social media and everything else into an existing business. And so, you just got to think about what businesses aren't going to be impacted by AI right out of the gate. Obviously, anything where people are working with their hands, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, service related businesses, things of that nature. So, really think about that and think about, where you might fit in if this is you. And obviously, real estate. I mean, AI is not going to buy the real estate. You've got to buy the real estate. So that's pretty safe. But yeah, no, this is, I'm so glad I'm alive for this, honestly, because this transition, like over, and honestly, they're talking about longevity as well. Like if you could survive for 10 years, you may be able to live another 40 or 50. And I biohack like crazy. In fact, as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to go literally inject 4 or 5 peptides that I didn't have a chance to do this morning. So, I mean, I'm doing peptides, biohacking, and NAD plus and methylene blue and all these other things that are just extraordinary
Mhm.
for longevity and health. And it's just going to get better and better. So it's exciting times.
Yeah, I love that. So, Rob, that kind of leads me perfectly to the next question that I had, right? I met you in 2022, and shit, man, you don't seem any less gassed or excited or striving than you did 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, you were 62, now you're 66. Two questions, right?
Mhm.
Why?
Okay.
Why you're still pushing this hard?
Mhm.
And two, where is that coming from? Like,
Mhm. Good. Good.
what's your
Great
driver?
questions. Great questions. I mean, first of all, when you love what you do, work is play. I don't need to
Yeah.
do these interviews. I love it. And I love adding value. I get so much love literally every single day. I get some love. And I mean, it's addictive, And so when you love what you do, work is play. So if you're listening, go try different things and figure out what you'd love to do and just double down on that. Don't think about the money initially because when you love what you do, you're passionate about it, and passion's required to raise money, to influence people, to get behind you. And so yeah, that's a really important piece. And so how do you figure out what you love to do? It's your strengths. Whatever you're strong in. Don't try to maximize your weaknesses. Focus on building your strengths because those are the things you enjoy. And then when you do that, you're going to get much further. Speed bumps aren't going to be as big a deal because when you're passionate, it breeds innovation, it breeds creativity, and the setbacks aren't as big a deal. You push through them because you're loving what you're doing. And that's my answer to your question. I love what I do. And so, I'm here and I love entrepreneurship. Like I said, I'm starting a new company. I've done 30 of them now. So it's just something I love. And of course, I love real estate. And so, it's just a blessing. And I'm going through transitions. I've had tough times. I broke up with my ex, who's the love of my life, 3 years ago, and we've been trying to do it, but it's over. And that's tough, and that's fairly recent. And so we all have these setbacks and things, but the key is, and what I've done every time is that anytime I've had a setback, I've reassociated with my goals. I've made a decision and to push forward. And Latin root for the word decision means to cut off. You're not dipping your toe in the water. It's done. You make a decision, it's done. And then I've taken massive action. I've surrounded myself with the right people, people that lift me up, don't tear me down. It's very important. You surround yourself with the right people, and play to my strengths. I'm a great communicator. This is my greatest strength, I think, is my ability to communicate. So I partner with analytical people to help me do the analysis on the businesses and the real estate that I buy, and it works very well. So again, play to your strengths. Don't try to build your weaknesses. Hire, align, or partner for your weaknesses.
Mm,
Success is inevitable.
that's such a great advice. What would you tell? Because Rod, a lot of people maybe know or have a hint, suspicion that their environment is not really conducive to the next version of
Mm,
them. And then
mhm.
there's also this very real kind of moment that happens when you decide to go your separate ways, maybe with a partner or in a partnership, that you have that human amygdala social brain thing that turns on. You're like, holy shit, if I do this, I'm going to be without a tribe. I'm going to be by myself. And you
Yeah.
make it. And again, it's human nature, right? Like we have needed to rely on a tribe all our life.
Yeah. It's primitive. It's wired into our it's wired into our bodies, into our DNA. And I'll tell you, and it's hard. It's very hard. And emotion pops into play and things of that nature. But I'm going to tell you, be very careful who you allow to influence you. Pay attention to your peers. Most people default to a peer group they went to school with or they work with. And those people may have their own limiting beliefs and fears. They may fear losing you and feeling left behind. They may feeling less than if you succeed, and sometimes it's family. I'm gonna tell you, love your family, but proactively choose your peers who you allow to influence you. So, I would tell you, if you're going through a change like that, like I am, get around people that want more out of life. When I was first starting things, I started a mastermind for my multifamily community. And I mean, there's now, the people that were in there probably own $50 billion worth of assets now. I let it go because it was like herding cats, but I was in a room I wanted to be in. Get into the rooms where people think what you think is hard is easy. That's what you want to do. And get around. And that's why my coaching program, my warrior program is so freaking successful, because everybody's, pumping themselves up. They validate each other. They hold each other. A rising tide lifts all ships. So that's why that community is so extraordinary. Out of those 300,000 units we believe they own, about 95% of them are done between warriors, between coaching students. They rally together. They play to each other. They, work with each other's strengths. It's extraordinary. I mean, it's got a life of its own. I can't, it's just incredible. We can't even keep track anymore. And that's the key. Who you hang out with is who you become. Choose carefully. Yeah.
Mm, I love that. So you seem to have a lot of it figured out, right?
Oh,
And so now, or
we're
like
we're
parts of it, right?
always learning. I'm sorry to interrupt
That's
you,
where I'm
but
taking
no,
you.
no,
Yeah,
no,
that's
no,
where I
no.
want
We're
to take.
always learning. If you're
Yeah,
not learning and growing,
yeah.
you're dying. Yeah, no, no, no. I
So
don't
what's the
have
part of
anything figured
struggle
out.
for you, Rod? Like what's the part that has been something that you, even though you know the
What a great
things, you're a
question.
mindset coach and you've gone through the things, there's this little fucking thing that
Yeah,
you're just
you are one smart guy, buddy. I got to tell you, you asked some very good questions, and
appreciate.
and yeah, no, I'm very very serious, and I don't throw that kind of praise around lightly. But I will tell you, for me, it's very often I move too quickly. I move too quickly, sometimes in relationships and my dating, that's popped up, and I move too quickly sometimes in business as well. And I even teach my my students not to do this. Trust your gut. Make sure if it doesn't feel right, it's probably not right. Ask all the right questions. You get into a partnership. It's like a marriage, easy to get into, hard to get out of. And I've made some big mistakes. I'm dealing with one right now, a partner that I thought was going to work out, embezzled a lot of money, and went to mediation once. We're going to go again. I mean, it's a shit show, and I teach this stuff, and I got caught up in it. But sometimes that's a issue for me, as I move too quickly. I am not analytical. I don't love numbers. I can read them, but I don't love them. So, that was the partner that I just talked about that was a CPA and still nefarious. So I've learned that I need to partner with more analytical, slower, meticulous people that I partner with, and that's a good match because I can be the mouthpiece and they can be the one that reins me in and keeps an eye on the bottom line and just make sure that what we're doing makes sense. And I've got that again now, and I really like the people I'm partnered with, and I'm very excited about them as well. And so, you learn, you start to get a feel for integrity and things of that nature. I actually have a book at my link tree that if you're thinking about getting a partnership, it's rodslinks.com, rods plural, links plural.com. And there's a book there that's titled The Questions You Should Ask Before You Get in a Partnership. It's like
Mhm.
I said, easy to get into, hard to get out of. It's a great resource. There's a lot of free books there, but that's one of them. Also, my goal setting workshop is there. So if you're not interested in real estate, go do your goals with me. It's an hour process. Have your spouse do it. If your kid's over 10 years old, have them do it. It's right there at Rod's Links. There's a guide you can download. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. Just people spend more time planning a freaking birthday party they do designing their lives, and doing your goals is designing your life. So
Yeah,
yeah, rodslinks.com. If you're driving, text the word links to 72345. Yeah.
amazing. We talked a lot about the human doing and Rod and everything that you're excited on the business side. What's something that
Mhm.
you're excited about coming up for you on the being side, on the personal side, on the family side? What does that side
That's a
of?
great question. That's a great question as well, buddy. I will tell you, up to about 6 months ago, I would have called myself agnostic. I went on a podcast. You know Ryan Panetta?
Hmm.
I was on Ryan's show. He's the real deal. By the way, this nefarious ex-partner tried to hide behind religion, and so my comment used to be, if they say they're religious, I'll put my hand over my wallet and run. Well, Ryan's the real deal, and I'll give him a shout out. He is a Christian. He's a good man. We actually prayed on his show, on my interview on his show, which is a little awkward for me, I'll be honest. But he recommended a book called The Case for Christ. It's about this investigative reporter that didn't believe in God, didn't believe in Jesus, dug deep and investigated Jesus, and became very religious. I wouldn't say religious, but definitely convinced that Jesus existed and resurrected and everything else. And he had me. And Ryan suggested I get that book. I've been reading it, and so I'll be honest. I've been embracing that. I've been embracing God and Jesus, and for me to even say that out loud is surreal for me, honestly, because I'm 66 and this is very recent. But I pray every day now, and and I can feel it. I can feel the difference in my body, feel the difference in my soul. And so I'm embracing that. I'm enjoying it, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. And if that's you, and you don't believe, suggest that book, The Case for Christ. He's a great speaker too. I forgot his name, unfortunately, off the top of my head, but um, very compelling. So that's huge for me, and very recent as well. So there you go.
Yeah, I love that. Because again, I think from my experience also with Dutch people, you do tend to be a little bit more,
Reserved.
yeah, and also Spartan in your way of thinking thing and
Oh.
social norms of things and marriage and all those different things are little things. So like
That's
that
a
relationship with
great
God,
word. That's a great word to describe Dutch people because they
right?
live
Very
very
Spartan.
Spartanly as well.
Yeah,
Very small, yeah, that's a great
yeah.
definition.
And so it's interesting how now you have found, and I grew up Italian, and for me, being Roman Catholic was a big part. And then I moved away,
Mm,
and then I met an amazing person from Saudi, and I fell in love with Islam and the concept of it, and almost thought about it, and then became
mm,
spiritual on another side, and then got into plant medicine, and I've done all the kind of things throughout the years.
mm,
And there was always with this deep desire to just connect to something, and there was always this understanding that had to be
mhm,
through something else versus the
mhm,
fact that you are a little God. Like you are,
mhm,
right? You're made
mhm,
in the image of God. And so what I ask
mhm.
often, Rob, to people is, does that mean that God is a big human, or does that mean that we're little gods?
In my opinion, we're all connected and we're all God. I think it's just a universal thing. Excuse me. I believe we're all connected. I believe that we can manifest everything we want in life through prayer or manifestation. I've seen it. I've done it. And I think that, this didn't all come together perfectly by happenstance. And so
Mm.
I definitely believe there's a higher power involved. I've been praying to it. It's really helped me for sure. And I'm a big, solid, tough, masculine man, but I'm not afraid to admit it, and I've been embracing it, and I've really enjoyed it. And this very recent, I must tell you, this is, in fact, the praying thing has probably only been 30 days, so this is very, very recent. Yeah.
Yeah. We do appreciate you being so vulnerable and sharing that. I do want to be
Yeah.
respectful of your time. For people that want to connect with you, where can people learn more? When can people find
Oh,
you?
thanks, buddy. I've really enjoyed this. You've asked some great questions, my
I
friend. I
appreciate it.
really
Likewise.
have. I just want to say that, and I get interviewed 5, 6 times a week, so that's some real praise, just so you
Thank
know.
you.
And I will tell you, the best place to reach me is Rod's Links. Honestly, my boot camp site is there. Rod's plural links plural.com, or text the word links to 72345 if you're driving. And there's a lot of free books there. My podcast link is there. I know you'd enjoy that if you listen to that, because I do a clip every week called "Own Your Power." And like yesterday, I did the power of failure. I know that sounds crazy, but it's a very powerful clip. And it's five. You give me 5 minutes a week, I will motivate you. And there are hundreds of them there. And so rodslinks.com is the best place. Yeah.
Amazing. And then, Rod, the last question we ask all of our guests is, what's your number one secret to success?
Massive freaking action.
Hmm,
Action mitigates fear. Action. Yes, you may stub your nose. You may have seminars like I've had, but you keep taking action. You keep getting back up. Success is inevitable.
love it. Well, Rod, it was such a pleasure to have you on. I am always inspired by just how much you still hustle and how much you serve and how much you continuously choose to grow. So I do look forward to having you back 4 years from now, maybe,
Thank,
and then we'll see what life is going to be all
love
about.
it. Love it,
Awesome.
brother. It's great to see you again as well. Thank you.
Likewise. Appreciate you guys and see you next week.